Before we get going, can you all hear me okay? Can you just give me a thumbs up? Perfect. All right. So I am just going to give you a couple really quick logistical overview of venue and how the couple of days at conference will play out. And then if you have questions for me, I'll hang out. I'll hang out at the end, and you can ask any questions that you have. And I think we lost. I think we lost Pap. So we'll wait for him to come back. But um, so in terms of audience, as of today, we have 130 folks registered for conference. Okay. And for you all are all Alaska based, so I don't want to go too deep into the makeup of some of our registration attendees, but just so for those who may be watching the recording, might be from out of state, just so you all are aware of kind of the um, where our audience is coming from. We will have folks coming statewide. We will have, it's about 60% of folks are from the urban areas, so Anchorage, Fairbanks, Juneau are big urban areas. But we also do have a lot of folks coming from rural Alaska. So just a couple of things to think about in your presentation if you are offering, curriculum or resources, bringing options of what that might look like in a community that might not have super strong or super stable internet, and things like that. So just something to keep in mind in terms of our participants. And in terms of experience for folks who will be attending, we usually have a pretty good mix of program providers, so coordinators, managers who are coming, and frontline staff. It's about similar split. I think we will probably see about 60% of folks who are attending will be more of that managerial role. Well, actually just thinking, well, we're probably a little bit less. About 50% of folks will probably be that managerial coordinator role, especially from communities where it might be a little bit tougher to get the whole team to Fairbanks. We might just have their coordinator manager there, but there will also be a good mix of folks who are the frontline in program, working with the kids every day. Also, in terms of experience for folks attending, it really runs the gamut. In your session, you might have folks who have been in the field for 15, 20 years, or you might have folks that might have just started last week. So just keeping that in mind, just thinking about your content. So this map is a little confusing, but if those of you who haven't been to the Westmark and Fairbanks yet, this is just a layout of the ground floor. So here where you see this kind of horseshoe on the bottom right-hand corner, that's the parking lot. There is another parking lot around the corner here, but I think for most folks, that front parking lot should be okay for you if you are if you have a vehicle. When you walk through the lobby, you'll see the front desk here. And if you take a left, and they'll probably direct you to, I think most of you are staying there. If you take a right, it'll take you to elevators to rooms. If you take a left and take another left and keep going down the hall, that's where you'll see a majority of the workshop rooms. So the ballroom is all the way down on that left-hand side is the gold room. And then you have Yukon, Minto, and Rampart are some of our breakout rooms. And then down the hall is the other one, is the Tanana room down here. We'll have signs, but just so you're aware, the Tanana is on the other side of the lobby. And so just a breakdown of what the ballroom looks like. It's gonna be looking a little bit different this year, especially for those of you who also have a vendor table. Typically, our vendor tables are in the hall. The hallway's a little narrow at the Westmark. So what we did this year in the ballroom, you can kind of see, all the tables is where we'll have keynote sessions. And the stage here is on the bottom right. On the left-hand side of the ballroom is where we'll have buffet tables, and the vendor exhibit tables will be on this side as well. So a little bit different, but we think this is actually a really cool opportunity. So we are encouraging, if you do have a table, during keynote sessions, please feel free to sit with everyone else on that other side in between the tables. I know especially for the folks who are kind of sitting right here, it might be a little weird because your backs will be to the room. This little dotted line just shows where our wall could be. We asked the venue if they can just take the wall down, so it's just gonna be a big open space um, from the keynote area and the exhibitor. So again, if it's during lunch, if it's during some of the keynotes, feel free, come sit, chat with folks at the tables here. So this is the ballroom. Any questions so far? I know I'm kind of going through this pretty fast. Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to show you all now is the different rooms. So I sent you the draft agenda, I think a few days ago, with tentatively where you would be for rooms. A few things have switched around, but we'll get to there. We'll get there in just a moment. So the first room we'll take a look at is the Rampart. The Rampart's a little tight. So the rooms at the Westmark, none of them are the same size. So this is a Rampart room. It's a bit on the smaller end, but you can see here, you can fit 4 tables. I think we have 10 at each table. So, for your workshops, anticipate bringing materials up to 40 just in case. And some of your bigger rooms, you will fit more. So once we get there, but minimum, I would say bring 40 if you have handouts or things like that. Also, if you do have handouts that you prefer that they get virtually, let me know and then email them to me because I can upload them into the app. And then you can tell folks, if you go to the session in the app, you can download the materials from there too. So if you have materials, send them to me and I can upload it to your session block. And so the next room is Minto. For those of you in Minto, you can see if it's one more table, but we thinned out the chairs a little bit. So you only have tables of 8. So again, about 40 in this room as well for Minto. Oh, and something I forgot to mention, in each room, you'll have in the front, you'll have the projector, that'll be on a table. You'll have a podium if you want the podium. If not, feel free to move it to the side. You'll also have this little, I forget what they call it, but it's not a full size 8-foot table. It's 8-foot table, but it's sliced in half, so it's really narrow. But you can use that for materials, things like that, if you want to set up your things there. And then there will be a water station in the back for you as well. We'll also have easels with chart paper and markers if you need that. If you don't, feel free to just move it off to the side, but it will be there for you if you need it. Okay, so those of you in Yukon, it's a little bit of a bigger room, really similar setup to the other rooms with what you'll also have in here as well as in terms of projector and table for materials. The one weird thing about Yukon is this square right here, it indicates a pillar. It's not a huge one, but it is there. So you can see the way they have the table set up. It shouldn't impede anyone's view, but if you're thinking like doing activities or moving around, things like that, just know there is a pillar in there. And then the last room is Tanana. This one is the one down the hall a bit. It is quite a bit bigger. You can see here, the room is kind of split into 2. So all these little squares right here are also pillars. They're not big. You can probably wrap like 2 hands around it. They're very small, but they are kind of stationed right in the middle of the room. So in terms of thinking, if you have activities, this area back here behind the pillars is pretty open. So just thinking about if you're in Tanana, how you want to structure some of your activities, maybe it's in that open area, but it is a little bit of a wonky space, but there are no tables back here. Everyone will be in front of those little pillars there. Okay, so that's room layout. Is there questions around any specific room layout or anything that will be in the rooms? Oh, no worries. I just saw your message there, Chelsea.
Thanks. Could you show me the gold room again? I missed that at the
Yes.
beginning. It was, yeah, thanks.
Oh, and that actually reminds me. So I think there may be only 1 or 2 folks who have a breakout session in the gold room. And what I put on the agenda for that is Gold Room East, but it's essentially this side of the room that's right in front of the um, projector and the stage. And if you're in that room, if you want to use a stage, feel free. If you want to just project something on there and walk around too, that works as well. So that is the room breakdown. And so I know I mentioned a little bit earlier. Uh, yes, the question about, oh, which question? Oh, I did not hear that question. Was it, do you mind asking again? I don't know if it was you that asked.
Yeah, I was just curious if we were allowed to move the tables at all, because some hotels don't allow that for union reasons. So I was just curious if we had any ability to do that, or if we should just keep them all in the same space.
That's a good question. As far as I know, you can move them. If you want to move the room around, if you could just move them back is what I'd say is probably best bet. All right. Okay. Any other questions in terms of room layout?
What are the walls made of? Do you know if they're carpet or if they're hard, or if there's any rules as to what we can hang on them?
Ooh. I don't know what they're made of. I do know that you can't use tacks. So sticky, if you've got the sticky or painter's tape, I think that works. Yeah, the only guidance we got in terms of the walls was don't use nails or tacks. And I was like, I have never had to do that before, but that is good to know.
I just know sometimes if it's a shared wall, it's carpet, and so
Mm,
I'll use Velcro for that because tape doesn't ever stick to,
oh,
to carpet walls. Um,
oh, good
so
call.
was just curious.
Yeah. I know Tanana is probably like an actual wall since it's pretty far out and it doesn't really butt up to any other presenter space. For the other rooms though, actually, you know what? I might get back to that question because I know when I was there last week, I took some pictures of the room. So let me zoom in on the walls and let you know if that's okay.
Cool, thank you.
Chelsea, I didn't know if you had a question. I see you're unmuted. If you do, you can feel free to drop it in the chat. All right, so I think most of you have been to conference before, but if you haven't, our conference app is the Huva app. I would say the best way, and I mentioned this a little earlier, there is possibility that the room that you're in currently might change, just depending, it is Alaska in the winter, so we'll see transportation wise if everyone can make it up. But there might be a chance that, we might lose a few presenters due to weather. And so your room might change. The best way to keep track of the most up to date agenda will be through the app. Because if I have to change a room, I will change it there, and usually it'll send an alert to everyone that there is a room change. So if you check there, it'll tell you what room you're in. Um, and so if you download the app right now, all you have to look up is the Alaska Out of School Time Conference. The agenda might not come up just yet. It's not live yet, but once it's live, you can go through and kind of see, um, you can see everything there. So hopefully by the end of today, the latest Monday, is when I hope to get that open for you all. If you have trouble getting in, just send me an email. You should be able to. I uploaded all of you into the system as presenters. Um, so your email should be in the system already. And I think you can just join with the email that way. But if you have challenges with that, just send me an email and I can help you with that also. All right. Okay, and so for the morning of, I think most of you will be coming in Wednesday night. So Thursday morning, starting at around 7:30 is check-in. And this is where you all will have a a name tag. So feel free to come pick that up here. It's gonna be, again, once you kind of come down this hallway from the rooms, all the way down to the gold room, you will see the check-in table there. So feel free to come grab your name badge. And again, if the app's not working, you want to check again, where's my room? We can check there. We can walk you there if you're having a hard time finding the area as well. So that is check-in. I'm just making sure I'm not forgetting anything. Oop. And then also at check-in, there will be another table there for room hosts. So for those of you presented at our conference before, this is kind of just a little bit of review of what a room host is. But if this is your first time, what we like to do is have our folks room host for you all. So they're really there as just an extension of you. So they're there to help you prep the room. We've asked that they come 15 minutes early before the session. So if you need help setting up tables or putting materials on the tables, they're there to help you do that. Their role is also to help welcome folks into the room. And the very important job is make sure you all start on time. So once your time starts, they are, kind of ushering folks in, closing the door if they need to, just so you have all the time that you need for your presentation. What they'll do is they will start the session. Thanks folks for being there. They'll read your bio. If you don't want them to do that, I know sometimes it's weird to have your bio read in front of you when you're right there. You can tell them not to, but they will have your bio that you provided in your workshop form. And so they'll read that and just introduce you. And again, they're there for you for what you need. So if you have some tech issues, they can provide some basic IT help, but if you need additional help, we will have someone on hand. All that information will be sent out a little bit later, but what you need, they will be there. At the end, they'll help close out. What they'll do is, thank folks for coming, and they will also remind them to do the evaluation. And the evaluation is going to be in the app in your workshop session. So they'll just help folks kind of locate where that is and do the evaluation so that you get that data afterwards. And just a quick look. So this is some of the evaluation questions that we ask for your session. So we encourage folks to do the evaluation again, just so you have the feedback. Once conference is over, I would guess around hopefully end of January, I will have all that data compiled and we'll send it to you so that you have that afterwards. Okay, and that's all I have for you. Is there questions or curiosities that you all have about conference? Alrighty. Well,
So sorry, I do have
okay.
a question here. I'll turn on
Yeah.
my video too. For materials, is there a good space to keep them before we're in the room? And what does that like setup shift look like?
Yeah, great question. So if you have a lot of materials that you're bringing in, say Wednesday or even like Thursday, but you don't present until later in the day, we do have a couple different options. So we have a staging room that we have, so you can always put it in there. And let me show you what that is actually. Okay, so the Chino room right here. So network staff will be using that just as a staging area. So if you have things that you want to put in there, we can absolutely put in there. At the end of the day, that will be locked. So feel free to put things in there. If you have things, little things that you just want to stash away for a little bit as well, there in front of where the registrations tables will be, there's a little closet behind us. So you can always just stash it in there too. And those lock at the end of the day. So a couple options for you if you need that.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Annie.
good question. Any other questions? And something I forgot to mention, so if you take a look at the agenda, you'll notice there are 15 minutes between each session, unless you're after lunch. If you are after the lunch session, you can go in there as early as you need to set up, but it is a little bit of a tight turnaround. It is 15 minutes for folks to, leave the last session and for whoever next is to come in. So that's why the room host is there to help. So if you have a lot of materials and you really need help kind of cleaning up so the next person can come in, they're there to help you. And also feel free to ask your attendees too, if they don't mind lending a helping hand, so the next person can come in. Okay. So in hopefully a day or two, I will follow up just with any last minute information. Again, we're going to identify a tech person that will be on hand for you for some of those bigger tech needs. So that will come out later as well. But if you need me at all, feel free to take my cell phone down. A day of conference, that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. If you need anything, text me, call me. That's the best place. My email is there as well. But I'll hang out for another minute or so if anyone has any last minute things they want to chat about. Otherwise, thank you for being here. Super excited to see you in 2.5 weeks. Coming very close. So see y'all soon. All right, Chelsea, I'll hang out and we can chat for a little bit.
Thank you.
Bye all. Thank you. All right, Chelsea, hang on one second. I'm going to try to end the recording.